Hello you guys, and welcome back to day three in Declutter Week, where every single day for 7 straight days I am bringing you declutter content. And today we are tackling my blush collection. Aside from my eyeshadow palette collection and like lips as a whole, I was like, there's no specific, like I don't have as many blushes as I do like I don't have as many lip glosses as I do blushes, but if you were to compile all of my lip product categories, then I would have then my lip products as a whole would be greater than my blushes. Why am I rambling about something that doesn't matter? Anyway, blush, we've got a lot of it. I love blush. I mean, I love all makeup, but I'm definitely feeling a little bit overwhelmed by the task of decluttering my blush collection. We are starting today's video with 98 total blushes in my collection, spread out between cream and liquid and then powder. I also have my face palettes, which have a lot of blushes in them. I decluttered my face palettes yesterday, but just thinking through, I already have 98 single blushes, and then I also have so many other blushes scattered throughout my face palette collection. I have got a lot of pink powder for my cheeks, is basically what I'm getting at. So I don't know how this is gonna go. I'm hopeful that maybe we could declutter about 30% of my blush collection, like fingers crossed. I have a feeling this is going to be one of the more difficult categories. For some reason, I do genuinely just struggle to part with my blushes. So if you're interested in seeing what's staying versus what's going, stay tuned. First, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and you like declutters, you like project painting content, you like eyeshadow, you like hanging out and chit-chatting about makeup, that's what we do over on this channel, so I hope you'll consider subscribing before moving on. And other than that, let's jump into the video. Quick disclaimer, I keep forgetting to let you guys know, all of my decluttered products, if they are old and need to make their way to the recycling or the trash, that is where they are going. All other products go to my friends, family, coworkers. I have a 10-year-old daughter who loves to play with makeup, so not all of the decluttered products are going straight to the trash. Like, I genuinely find a home for anything that I can find a home for. So just wanted to throw that out there. Now let's get into the declutter. All right, you guys, we are gonna start with my liquid blushes. Some of these I feel like, okay, my daughter and I feel like trade makeup back and forth sometimes. So if you're seeing some things, like I feel like some things I'm like, I swear I've decluttered this, but it's suddenly in my collection again. So if you're seeing products that you thought I decluttered and now they're here, I apologize. But I'm gonna swatch everything out. So I'm hoping to try and get things to be as like colored as possible. And I think maybe, oh, where do I start? Maybe I'll just start actually, okay. I'm gonna start with my Say Dewy Blush in the shade Baby. I really like the Say Dewy Blush formula, and I don't have another liquid blush that is this shade. And honestly, I don't know that I have a cream blush this shade. I think the closest cream blush shade I would have to this, closest I think would be Lawless Gumdrop, but I don't think these are gonna be really similar at all. The Say one almost is more like cool tone and almost has a bit of like lavenderness to it, whereas the one from Lawless is almost like a little bit, I don't know if you'd consider that like warm tone, like they're just different. Anyway, I really like this one from Say. I actually am, I don't know if you'll be able to tell, I'm almost done with this one. I am still hoping to finish this one before the end of the year. I've taken the stopper out of this. I was considering possibly picking up the newest like Say mini blush set during the Sephora VIB sale. I didn't. I still kind of want it. This would be the only repeat shade in there. The other shades look kind of like that like tannish sort of blush shade that I really like. And obviously I like Baby, so I'm still possibly thinking about that. We'll see how this blush declutter goes, but I'm gonna keep Baby. Then I think the only other like mauve slash purple blush that I have is this one from Rare Beauty. And this is one that I thought maybe I had decluttered. Oh shoot, the sticker fell off of this one. That, for some reason I feel like that's the shade Encourage, but I could very well be wrong. The Rare Beauty blushes are extremely pigmented. Definitely not. I will also say liquid blush is not my first reach. I honestly think actually I'm pretty confident I'm gonna declutter all of my Rare Beauty blushes. In fact, I thought I had already decluttered all my Rare Beauty, and it's certainly possible. This one is in the shade Love, which is kind of like this burnt orangey red sort of blush shade. And then I also have the shade Joy, which is like a bright dewy coral. Joy I feel like is like kind of the hardest for me to part ways with, but do you see just how pigmented that is? And I'm just not going to be reaching for like an orange blush shade. So I actually am going to declutter all 3 of my Rare Beauty blushes. I have 2 of the Say blushes in the shade Chili, and this is where I'm like, I'm pretty sure I had decluttered one of these already. I am going to keep my large Chili, and I am going to declutter the little one. I'll give the little one to my daughter. Chili is a really, really beautiful color. It's kind of like this almost berry toned blush that I just feel like is really, really beautiful for this time of the year. I feel like Chili, it's C-H-I-L-L-Y, is perfect, is like a perfect name, because this is like chilly cheeks in my opinion. Like, it's cold outside, you like almost have frostbite. I'm gonna swatch that next to the Huda Beauty Strawberries and Cream shade. I feel like these 2 might be somewhat similar. I feel like those kind of are the same, except for Chili is obviously a lot more sheer and maybe has a little bit more purple to it, whereas the one from Huda Beauty has more maybe red to it. Or it just might be that this one is more sheer. Those 2 are pretty similar. I'm gonna keep both just because this is my only Huda Beauty one, so I would like to keep this around for the formula. And I do like this one. It's not my favorite thing to reach for by any means, but I do like that. I am gonna pass along Say Chili to my daughter because I feel like she would enjoy getting use out of that, and I obviously already have a full size. Then I have the shade Poppy from Say, and Poppy is this really beautiful kind of orange. I thought maybe I had decluttered Poppy, but if I did, then I'm definitely going to reclutter this one into my collection. I don't have anything. I think the closest thing that I would have in my cream blushes is maybe this one from Kaja. This is in the shade Peach Cobbler, but I am going to declutter the one. I will ultimately end up decluttering this one. Oh, and those aren't the same. This is more orange. This is almost has a bit more pink to it. I just feel like I don't have anything quite like this, and this is such a beautiful formula to reach for in the summer, and I feel like this is kind of giving just like summer rosy coral cheeks. So I am going to hold on to the shade Poppy from Say, and then the last one I have from Say is the shade Rosy. I'm gonna wipe my hand off again because I want to swatch Rosy next to many of the other ones that I have. So here is Rosy, which you can tell is just a very neutral blush shade. I have NYX Sweet Cheeks here, which I think is going to be a little bit deeper and maybe more cool toned. Yeah, those 2 definitely are not the same at all. And I don't feel like either of these 2 are necessarily the same as any of the ones. Okay, that lid is not screwing on. That I've kept so far. I also have the Vive Sunset Blush Balm, the Luminous Blush Balm. I really, really, really enjoy this. It is very sheer. I have the shade Rosa, and this one again is kind of that like more nudie, neutral sort of blush shade. Almost like the warm toned version of the NYX Sweet Cheeks. And then the Rosy shade from Say is definitely the most like peachy in tone. I have these 2 from What's Up Beauty. These are the Rose Hippity Matte Liquid Blushes. I have the shade Heirloom as well as Oceana. I'm gonna swatch Heirloom. I actually think is more of, well, gosh, I feel like maybe Heirloom is, it's probably more pink than the NYX. Yeah, that is. Okay, those are not exactly the same. I feel like this one is kind of close to Rosy as well. Okay. I feel like Rosy from Say is pretty similar to Oceana. Or wait, no. This one was Heirloom. And then I have Oceana, which is, For some reason, this is like remind me of like almost like a concealer lip, but it's like a concealer blush, but it's, but it does have like a bit of coraliness to it. It's a bit orangey. Okay, I definitely know I'm keeping the NYX Sweet Cheeks blush. If I didn't say, this is in the shade Nude Tude. I'm gonna keep that. I'm also definitely keeping the Vive Sunset blush. Okay, and then I feel like I'm kind of torn on Say Rosy. I don't know why though. I feel like that's just a little bit more warm than I would typically like. Like if I was going for a warm blush like this, I would go for something like the shade Poppy over this. And then I also just, okay, so the What's Up Beauty formula is matte, and you can see it does dry down matte. That's actually not my favorite at all, and I don't really love a matte blush. I think I'm definitely going to declutter Oceana, which is this shade right here. I really don't like, I actually, now that I'm looking at this on my hand, I have tested these on my cheeks each once with each shade. Now that I'm looking at that, I'm like, if I am going for a cream or liquid blush, I'm wanting like a dewy finish at bare minimum. I feel like I'm never going for like a matte blush. So I actually am going to declutter both of my What's Up Beauty Rose Hippity just because that is not my preferred finish in a blush. And then I think I will go ahead and keep the Say Rosy, see if I get some use out of it this summer, and if I don't, potentially I would think about decluttering that shade next summer. All right, that just leaves me with these three left. So I have the Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue Bronzer. This is in the shade Kiss of Copper. I am going to for sure be decluttering this. I don't love this. It's just way too, it is very coppery, but that is not a flattering shade for me. That is not gonna work for me, so this is definitely getting decluttered. Then I have the Charlotte Tilbury Pinkgasm Light Wand, which I think is really beautiful. Definitely gives a beautiful glow, and I do really like that shade. And then I also have the Bite Beauty Daycation blush that I feel like I'm so close to finishing. Oh, maybe, okay. It's just so hard to squeeze out, and now I got way too much. I feel like I'm down to my last little bit here. I really should try and finish this before the end of the year. I am gonna keep this one as well, just because I'm so close to finishing this shade. It is really pretty. Dang, okay. The way that the Charlotte Tilbury is hitting the light, I'm like, I need to be reaching for that more. I am gonna keep both of these. I think Melon Mojito will be done. It should be done by the end of the year, but very soon. And then the Charlotte Tilbury one is also really pretty. So I'll keep both of those. So that means I actually feel like we did okay for liquid blush. I'm decluttering 7 and I am keeping 9. So not quite half, but pretty darn close. And I'll be honest, I feel like I could finish both of these before the end of the year. So then it would technically be like an even split, right? Anyway, you can tell I have like a favorite blush formula. I really like the Say liquid blushes, but again, decluttering 7, keeping 9. All right, moving on to cream blush. I think I have 30 cream blushes. I will say I do like cream blush a little bit more than liquid blush. I have my Patrick Ta Duos here. It has a cream and a powder just because I want to be able to potentially swatch amongst other things. I'm going to start with these two from Kaja. These are the Dewy Bars. I did really enjoy this formula, but what I found is that it just melts. Like, even if it's not really sitting in the heat, and it just becomes so messy. So I actually am going to be decluttering for sure both of these Dewy Bars that I have remaining. And then I'm going to start maybe with Phytosurgence next, just because I think I will keep both of these, and maybe I can swatch similar things amongst these two. So I have the Phytosurgence Skin Spark Cream Blush in the shade Condensate, which is this really beautiful kind of cool toned blush. I don't think I have anything quite like this. I was definitely inspired to buy this because Tom from Hope Mess Tom talks about this all the time. Kind of talks about it as being kind of like a bruisey blush, which I was like, I want a bruisey blush. And then I also have the shade Sear, which is different, but also kind of has that kind of cool toned aspect to it. I am definitely keeping both of these. I really enjoy the Phytosurgeon's blush formula. And actually looking at everything, I don't necessarily think I have anything super similar. I'm curious to swatch Rosé and Brunch from Danessa Myricks. Oh, that's definitely gonna be a lot more warm toned. Ignore everything I just said. And the only other like real, like, no, I really don't think I have anything like either of these two in my collection. Oh, except for my Rose Ink one. This is in the shade Camellia. This is also kind of like that cooler toned purple, but obviously still very different. I am gonna keep my Rose Ink one too. I really like the Rose Ink cream formulas. I also really like their cream highlight. I think I have a couple possibly similar shades in the Lawless formula. So I'm gonna open all of my Lawless blushes up here. Okay, I feel like a lot of my Lawless blushes look quite similar to one another, and I definitely don't need to keep all of my Lawless blushes. I'm gonna swatch this shade. This is Rosebud. I'm just curious how this looks swatched next to some of these. As you can tell, no you can't. As you can tell, the Lawless blush formula is more of like a matte blurring formula, which I know I did say I like a glowier cheek. I do like the Lawless formula. I think it's really forgiving and easy to work with, but like I said, I definitely don't need all of these. I feel as though I'm gonna swatch this one too. This is in the shade Cheeky. There's Cheeky. Oh, Cheeky is definitely a little bit more unique to the blushes in my collection, but I also just don't feel like this is necessarily a flattering shade on my cheeks. So I'm definitely going to declutter Cheeky from Lawless. That is that more like lavender tone, or like purpley pink. I don't know how to best describe that. Then I will swatch, let's see, this is Angel. Angel's just very like nudie. Very nude. I think maybe I like Angel a little bit more than Rosebud though, personally. It might just be a little bit more like neutral in tone to Rosebud. Then I also have Duchess, which Duchess actually looks like it could be a bit unique to my collection. There's Duchess. But I feel like all of those are like relatively similar. Looking at Duchess and Rosebud, I'm like, which of the two? I'm for sure gonna keep Angel, which is this one right here. I feel like maybe I don't need Rosebud or Duchess though. Just because it's not my favorite finish. Like I'd rather something a little bit dewier, like the top row, or like a Merit Flush Bomb. Okay, I'm going to declutter Duchess and Rosebud for sure from Lawless. I do want to swatch out the Danessa Myricks Rosé and Brunch now too. Oh, whoa, that's creamier than I thought it was gonna be. There's Rosé and Brunch. That actually reminds me quite a bit of Duchess. Yeah, those are quite similar. I am definitely going to keep this one from Danessa Myricks. I like that it's a cute little mini. I haven't actually gotten to use this one on my cheeks yet because I recently got this. I did used to have a different like full size of the Danessa Myricks blush. It was very pigmented and it just wasn't the best shade for me, so I decluttered that one, but I would like to at least keep this for the time being. So I'm gonna put that in the save pile. I'm curious how close this Le Bon Bon from Merit, oh, that's maybe more pink. Oh, that's way more pink. Okay, ignore that. I'm also just gonna swatch Tan Lines from Rhode, just because I know this is more of a nudie blush. There's Tan Lines, which I'm definitely keeping. I really, really enjoyed this shade. And it's definitely like a little bit warmer than the other shades that I kept. Okay, I'm gonna open up all of my Patrick Ta duos so you can kind of see the shades that I have in these duos. And then I'll also open up my Fenty Cheeks Out. Okay, I'm gonna do orangey shades next. So that means I'm gonna swatch Lawless Starburst, which has historically been my favorite shade of the Lawless blushes. There it is, swatched right there. Just a really light kind of orangey coral, and because it's so blurring, I really do like this one, especially for just like a lighter pinched cheek. kind of coral cheek look in the summer. The other oranges I have, those are more, these are not similar, but let me swatch this one from Patrick Ta. Do We Know Her? All right, there is that coral, which is also really pretty. I actually am kind of curious about swatching this next to that Say Dewy blush I kept. Okay, here's the Say Dewy blush in Poppy. I just want to see how similar all of these orangey shades are. Okay, those two, that one is almost a little bit more pink and a little bit dewier maybe, but those two are quite similar. And then I also have this one in She's the Moment. There is She's the Moment. Little bit more orangey maybe. I think I can declutter this Patrick Ta duo because this is so similar, and honestly, like, I feel like I have the same vibe happening. So I think I can let go of Do We Know Her from Patrick Ta. I am just kind of curious about Strawberry Drip from Fenty next to these ones, just because I feel like, okay, the Fenty is a little bit more of like a reddish strawberry pinky color, but they all kind of give the same vibe. Why do I feel like I like this better than this? Okay, maybe actually I'll keep this duo from Patrick Ta, but then I feel like I definitely can let go of this one from Say. I think that's what I'm gonna do. So ultimately then I decluttered, would it be 8 from Say and kept 8? Oh, equal split. Woo! Winning equal split my liquid blushes. Okay, so that means from this bunch that we just swatched, I am keeping both of these from Patrick Ta, at least until we swatch my powders. I'll do that too, but currently keeping She's the Moment and Do We Know Her, as well as Lawless Starburst is also staying right now. And I'm going to keep the Fenty Cream Blush in the Strawberry Drip. I really like that. Okay, let me swatch these then. Okay, so I have the Fenty Glow Cheeks Out, which I feel like I've decluttered and recluttered, but it could also be a different shade. There's Fenty Glow. It's a really beautiful, very nude, like warm nude sort of blush shade. Then I have She's So LA from Patrick Ta, which I decluttered and regretted and recluttered this one. And actually I was really enjoying reaching for this one earlier this year. I'm gonna swatch that one just a little bit heavier. Okay, those are kind of similar, but this is, I mean, this one is a little bit lighter. I feel like this you could almost get away with as like a highlight. And then I have, this one's a little bit different, but still kind of the same. Not Too Much from Patrick Ta. I'm gonna swatch that one a little bit heavier too. As you can tell, this one has definitely more like of a pinky brownie nude, whereas this is like true brown. Okay, I do feel like I can let go of the Fenty Cheeks Out blush in the shade Fenty Glow. I feel like that's just not, actually, I don't know. I could actually see myself maybe really liking that in the summer. There is a bit of like sparkle running throughout that. I'm curious, okay, how close is it to the Merit Flush Balm in Terracotta? Oh, those are quite similar, but that one has that bit of glow to it. I do not need all three of these. Oh, what do I want to get rid of? This is so tough though, because I do love a blush like this. Or yeah, a blush. Okay, I'm definitely keeping both of the Patrick Ta duos. I really like those. But I think I can maybe let go of the Terracotta shade. There is something that's like just making me really want to keep the Fenty Glow. So I'm going to keep the Fenty Cheeks Out in Fenty Glow. And then I think I will let go of the Merit Flush Balm in Terracotta. Oh, I forgot, in my orange blushes, I also have the shade Golden Hour from Melt. I'm definitely going to keep this one. This one is really glowy, but I do really, really like that. And now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, I mean, maybe I could layer these two together. I'm like, do I really need Starburst? Because I would rather reach for something glowier, but maybe I could mix those two together for just like a more pigmented glow. That could be really pretty. Okay, I'm keeping both Lawless Starburst and the Melt Golden Hour. And then moving on to my pinks. Okay, I have the Makeup by Mario blush stick in Earthy Pink. I really love this blush stick, especially when I first got it. I was obsessed with this. So I really like having this in my collection. I don't necessarily know that this is going to be similar to any of my other pink shades. This is Fenty Cheeks Out and Petal Poppin'. I feel like I can let go of the Lawless Gumdrop. I just don't necessarily see myself, like I'd rather reach for the one that I swatched, oh, the Say Baby. I know that they're not the same shade, but I'd much rather reach for Say Baby over this. So I actually am ready to let go of this one from Lawless as well. I am going to keep both the Fenty Cheeks Out in Petal Poppin' as well as the Makeup by Mario. However, from RMS Beauty, I have the Lip to Cheek in the shade Spell. My like fingers are stained at this point. That is such a beautiful nudie blush too. I'm going to swatch it next to Beverly Hills from Merit. I don't think they're going to be the same, and I would keep both because I'm almost done with Merit Beverly Hills. No, they're definitely not the same. I am going to keep Merit Beverly Hills. I'm working on panning this. I don't necessarily think I'm going to pan this by the end of the year, but I think that's such a beautiful everyday blush. And I am going to keep the Lip to Cheek from RMS as well. I actually do really enjoy this blush shade as well. I don't know if you can tell, but I have like a pretty decent dip going on that, especially for a cream blush for me. So then that just really brings me to the rest of my Merit Flush Bombs. I have the 3 from the holiday set this year. Merit has sent all of these to me, just full disclosure. And then I have the shade Fox. Okay, let's swatch Fox. Ugh, I actually really do love the Merit Flush Bombs. So there's Fox. I also have the shade Persimmon, which Persimmon is definitely a lot more orangey. I feel like I don't need Persimmon, but I definitely am going to be keeping Fox. Okay, I'm gonna let go of Persimmon. I have the shade Redux, R-E-D-U-X. I hope I'm saying that correct. There is that one swatched. I like these cute little minis. That one's really pretty too. I'm definitely going to keep this. I have the shade Postmodern, which is a little bit deeper. I used this in a Get Ready With Me that never saw the light of day. It was really pretty, but it was quite pigmented. The thing with these are though, you can really sheer them out. Okay, I feel like I do want to keep that. And then I have the shade Le Bonbon, which is this really fun pink. Definitely not going to be an everyday reach for me, but I honestly feel like I might really love this on the lips next summer too. I really liked pink lips this year. And so I'm gonna keep that one as well. I'm gonna keep these 4, and these are the 2 Flush Bombs I'm getting rid of. Okay, we definitely did not do quite as well with the cream blush declutter. I am keeping 22, and I am going to be decluttering 8. I do really like my cream blushes, like I really do, and I don't want to declutter just to declutter. I'm sitting here being like, I should get rid of something more. The only other thing I'm thinking of is possibly like, do I really need Lawless Angel? Let me actually, okay, wait, let me swatch Lawless Angel. I'm gonna get a little bit of a heavier swatch. There is Lawless Angel swatched. I'm gonna swatch that next to the shade out of the Not Too Much duo. I'm gonna get rid of, just because 22 cream blushes is way too many for me to have. I'm also gonna declutter am I decluttering just to declutter though? I don't think I'll remember. Like I don't think, because I also do have the Lip to Cheek, which is not gonna be the same, but honestly, I do love like a nudie blush like that. Okay, I'm okay. I can declutter Lawless Angel and it's gonna be fine. Okay, also decluttering Lawless Angel. And then the only other thing I wanted to revisit for one moment was the Patrick Ta Do We Know Her. Okay, swatching this again, and then I'm gonna swatch that. Wait, no, I'm doing this wrong. Okay, the correct way, the way that Patrick says to do it, powder, and then blush. The thing is my daughter's been begging for one of my Patrick Ta duos, so I feel like I should just declutter one to her. I'm gonna do it. I'm decluttering She's the Moment as well, because then my blushes like more easily fit my organizer too. Okay, so 2 additional declutters will put us at getting rid of 10 and keeping 20. So still didn't do the best, but you know what? All of my blushes that I'm keeping, my cream blushes that I'm keeping, fit in this little organizer. I'm taking that as a win. 20 cream blushes are staying, 10 are leaving. All right, on to the most daunting task. We have my powder blushes, and I believe, if I counted correctly, I have 54 powder blushes sitting in front of me, which is actually insane. But I also love my powder blushes so much, so I have a feeling this is going to be so difficult. I'm gonna do my best to sort them by color. I feel like I have a lot of like the same colors. Oh, I feel so overwhelmed. This is gonna be so tough. Okay, let me start with, I'm gonna start with like my nudie blushes, because that's like my favorite type of blush to wear, is a very nude blush, and that'll probably be the most difficult portion of my blushes to declutter. I have 54 powder blushes, but then I have all of my blushes in my face palettes too. I would love if I could even get my blushes down to 40. I don't know if that's possible, but let's see what we can do. Okay, it's kind of difficult because I feel like I have like brown nudes, and then I have some that are more like peachy coral nudes, and then I definitely have a lot of pink nudes. I've really tried to keep this to more like neutral brown nudes, but like just take it or leave it on some of these. Here are all of my blushes. I don't know how to like best do this. I think maybe I'll start with ones that like I feel like I know for sure I love and don't see myself parting ways with, because then I can swatch them or really try and compare them against ones that I'm more on the fence about. So like my MAC Warm Soul, I absolutely love this blush. It doesn't show up like super impactful on the cheeks, but I really like this even sometimes for like neutralizing a blush shade or adding just a little bit of a glow to the cheeks. So MAC Warm Soul, I'm definitely not going to be getting rid of. I'm just gonna swatch kind of up my arm here. I hope you guys will be able to see it. There's that. And actually, see, this one is nude, but I also feel like that comes across almost like a little bit peachy. So like I could have definitely pulled out, and maybe I'll include this too, I could have pulled out the Urban Decay Fleshed Out. Okay, Warm Soul we know is staying. I do also really love my Buxom Facials. You guys know this. I just don't know if this is like getting to be too old. There's definitely like a little bit of hard pan in it, but I definitely pulled this out several times this year and it worked just fine on my cheeks. There is Buxom Seychelles. Definitely a little bit different than Warm Soul. Warm Soul is definitely a little bit warmer. Actually, this looks more warm tone swatch right here than it typically looks on my cheeks, but I am going to keep Buxom Seychelles. This is like a forever blush favorite. I honestly don't know if you can get these blushes or if they make these blushes anymore, but it's been a long time favorite. So that one is going to stay. Then I would say I also really love my Laura Mercier Fresco highlight, or not highlight, blush. This one is definitely going nowhere. Again, it kind of just gives that like glowy, nudie, sort of fleshy blush to the cheeks. It's definitely giving the same vibe as these three, but I feel like, and maybe you can't tell as noticeably on camera, but I feel like in person I do notice differences amongst them. I actually feel like these two are closer than I would have thought, but I, again, on the cheeks feel like Buxom Seychelles reads more cool and these two read more warm. These are like my favorite 3 nude blushes, so those are gonna stay. And then the next 2 that I love would probably be MAC So Natural, which I also don't plan to get rid of. And this is actually more of like a cream to powder blush, but I love MAC So Natural, and that one is definitely the lightest of all of them, and almost a little bit more peachy warm even than MAC Warm Soul. I'm definitely keeping MAC So Natural. Then I would say it would be this one from Kosas. This is in Dreamland. This is one where I feel like it might come across more brownie nude, although I do feel like we're kind of there's definitely some that are more, okay, wait, let me swatch that right there. No, okay, of all of them, this definitely has more pinkness to it, but still reads a little peachy. I really love the Kosas blush formula as well because it has a bit of a sheen to it. I feel like of all of these that are swatched, the ones it reads closest to would be MAC Warm Soul, but they definitely are different. Again, I feel like this one is almost a little bit more pinky. I am going to keep Kosas Dreamland. Okay, before we move out of like the nudes like this, I'm gonna swatch Becca Wild Honey. Becca Wild Honey, I feel like I've tried to get rid of so many times and I always end up recluttering it into my collection. But I will say this year I did notice, I feel like it really is getting to the point where it's really dry and I don't always feel like it blends the best onto the cheeks. So there is MAC Wild Honey. I feel like MAC Wild Honey is actually pretty close to Laura Mercier Fresco, except for Fresco has a bit of that glow to it. And I actually definitely prefer a glowier cheek to a more mattified cheek. So I think it really, really is time to let go of this and not reclutter it into my collection, but to let go of Becca Wild Honey for good. All right, then I have a couple more like true nudes here. I actually do like this Tarte Concept. This is another one I feel like I have decluttered several times and then end up bringing back into my collection. I feel like I've decluttered it just knowing like, oh, the panner in me like knows it will take forever to get through. But that is not the mentality to have. Like I should not keep a blush because I feel like I'm not going to finish it because there are several blushes I'm not going to finish. Okay, Tarte Concept actually reminds me probably the most of Kosas Dreamland. In fact, I want to swatch those like right next to each other. Okay, this one's a little bit lighter and has a glow. This one doesn't have a glow. I definitely prefer a glow, as I've been saying, but I do really still like Concept. There's something about it maybe that reads, I don't know if I would say even just like a bit more neutral. There's something in me that's wanting to keep Tarte Concept right now, so I will do that. All right, next up I have the Tower 28 Get Set blush in Long Beach Iced Tea. This I was not the biggest fan of this year. This was almost like too mattifying for my cheeks. I just did not feel like that looked flattering. In Concept, this should be like an absolute favorite. It is more of like a brownie nude sort of blush shade, but it's just too matte on my cheeks and I don't love it. So I am gonna be passing along the Tower 28. I also did try the Urban Decay Fleshed Out blush this year. Not a great swatch at all, but I do feel like I'm like getting in there with the blush powder. This is a really light shade. I feel like as I look at all these, or as I look at this compared to the rest of the blushes, it looks like a mattified version of the Kosas one, maybe a little bit more coral, and this one's like a little bit pinkier, but I don't think I would miss having this in my collection. This is not a blush that I bought and then was using and was like, oh my gosh, I want to keep using this at all times. So I'm going to declutter the Urban Decay as well. And I actually think I'm going to wipe off my arms because I think the rest are maybe a little bit darker when we get to the nudes, except for this one from Kaleidos. This is like a true like nude. Oh, but it is a little bit more pinky. Okay, I might wipe everything off my arms and swatch this again when we get to the more pinky shades. Okay, I have a couple of what I feel like are like true nude pinks. Actually, no, I'm not getting into the pinks yet. Okay, I have what I consider to be maybe like darker brown nudes, although this might read more like warm. This reads almost highlightery because it's so glowy. This is from Iconic London. It's Kissed by the Sun. I had decluttered this, then I pulled it back out. I actually meant to buy a different shade of this. I pulled it back out and used it a couple times this summer and actually really enjoyed this. Again, I'm liking a glowier cheek, so I kind of liked this as almost like a blush topper with something like MAC Warm Soul. I am going to hang on to the Iconic London for now. Then I also have this one from Give Beauty. This is in the shade Stars Align, and this is a blush duo. So there's a matte and a more glowy blush. There's the matte. Again, just kind of that beautiful like brown sort of blush shade, but a little bit darker. And then there is the glowy blush. I almost feel like all three of these could work in like a trio together. Like we have a matte, a satin, and then like a really glowy powder. I really like these tones, especially when I want something that is like a little bit of a deeper brown nude in the summertime when I have more of a tan. I am going to keep the Give Beauty Duo. And then I have two more like brownie nudes. I have MAC, the MAC Extra Dimension in Hushed Tone. This is one of the newer blushes to my collection, and this is more of a blush topper again. But I've been liking a blush topper because, again, I like a glowier cheek. Again, I kind of feel like all these, like these three could also be a quad together. But that's good because then I could use this as a blush topper. I'm going to keep this one as well. It's glowier than these two, but it's a different tone than the RMS. And then I also have the Pillow Talk, the Cheek to Cheek and Pillow Talk Intense. Okay, so for Pillow Talk Intense, we have the matte blush on the outer part of the blush. I usually always just swirl my brush together. We have the middle kind of glowy part, and then if we mix them together, which is what I do, that's the shade that we get. I'm just like looking through my blush collection to see if I feel like if I have anything that's similar to a shade like this. And I don't think that I do. I have the Bare Minerals highlighting blush in the shade Mauve Glow. I actually think I'm going to declutter Mauve Glow. I'll swatch this really quick. This is just, again, kind of like a blush topper slash highlight, but it's too dark for what I typically go for. And I also just feel like it's like too dark of a blush topper to be flattering on me. It's not anywhere close to these. I honestly don't feel like I have anything crazy close to the Pillow Talk Cheek to Cheek. I'm wondering maybe if the CL Blaze blush. Oh yeah, maybe the CL Blaze would be like the closest to it. But I feel like it most closely matches just like the matte part of this. I am going to keep the Pillow Talk Intense. I do like having this in my collection. It is a little bit deeper, but I don't have a ton of super deep blushes. And I do like to have something like this from time to time. Since I already have it pulled out and swatched, I will say I'm definitely going to let go of the Bare Minerals highlighting blush in Mauve Glow. I would be interested in trying this formula just in a lighter shade, but the mauve just is not going to work for me. I will also be keeping the CL blush. This is very, very new to my collection. Since I have these more like ready blushes swatched up my arm at the moment, I am going to swatch out these three really quick, and maybe actually this one too from Nabla. Let me swatch this one from Nabla. This is in Independence. This is what Independence looks like. It's almost more of like a, this one might be a little bit more pinky brown. I love the Nabla blushes. Okay, that one is a little bit more pinky. I might save that to swatch with my pinky blushes. I have this one that I got in the Revolve Beauty Advent Calendar. It's a mini Pat McGrath blush. This is in Paradise Venus. I'm gonna swatch that maybe like this way just because I'm curious how close it is. Oh, it does look pretty similar to that Cheek to Chic, the darkest shade in the Cheek to Chic. Maybe this one's like has slightly more of like a pink tone to it, but those are relatively similar. I'm still gonna keep the Charlotte Tilbury, and I am gonna keep this one from Pat McGrath. I haven't even tried this one on my cheeks yet, but that's definitely something to keep in mind for the future. Okay, then I have these two from Kosas. this one might actually be better suited to swatch with the pinks. I was just kind of curious about this one. This is in Spellbound. Spellbound, I can swatch way up here. Okay, maybe that's more pinky than I was anticipating it was going to be. Okay, I'll save that for the pinks. Okay, so oh, and then I have my like 2 like nudie nudes. I swear I have another Kaleidos I can swatch with like the nudie nudes. Okay, I have these 3. I'm gonna swatch NARS Behave first just because of these 3. NARS Behave is the one I see myself keeping the most. There's NARS Behave, and this is where we kind of enter the more like nudes, but like more of like a pinky brownie nude. This is like a true, almost like neutral nude blush. I really like NARS Behave. That one is definitely staying. Then I have these 2 from Kaleidos. I don't know the names of these because they're not on the back. This is such a nice creamy formula. There's that one right there. That is such a light blush. It's almost like the color of my skin. And then I also have this one, which is also very light, but a little bit more like cool toned. Also just like kind of the color of my skin. I feel like I've like gone back and forth on both of these. Okay, I realized that you've been able to see my face on that. I think of these 2, I'm gonna declutter this one, which is a little bit more cool toned. I know you can barely see both of those. I'm going to, it's so tough. I'm like, is it worth keeping this one? Sometimes it is nice though to have just like the slightest bit of a pinched cheek. So I'm gonna keep this one from Kaleidos for now, and just kind of see if it even shows up at all on my cheeks. It's been a while since I've reached for that, but I am gonna declutter this one. I'm gonna keep these swatched out just as we move into the pinks, but of all of the blushes that we just chatted about, I decluttered 5 and I'm keeping 14. So not off to the best start, but decluttering 5 means we're under 50 blushes. So we're gonna take that as a win. All right, I have a couple other really light pink blushes. I have this one from What's Up Beauty. This is the Cheek Terry Baked Pressed Powder Blush in the shade 10 Peaceful Pisa. And this is like one of those like marbled textures. I actually really like the bronzer that kind of has the same marbled formula. So there is the shade 10. That is really pretty. Again, very light though. Slightly more pink than this, whereas this is more nude. I'm just wondering, like, I just feel like this is almost gonna read more as a powder, this blush, and I just don't think that's gonna actually work for me. So I think I actually am going to end up decluttering that second blush from Kaleidos, which is swatched right there. This one is really beautiful and very light, and I think sometimes it is nice to have a really light, but then I'm going back on this one and I'm like, ugh, I'm struggling. Okay, I'm putting this one back in the keep for now. Maybe this is one that I need to like chopping block. This one I'm thinking about. All right, I have the Bare Minerals Bronzer in Kiss of Pink, and then I also have the Kosas Blush is Life in Bliss. I'm definitely keeping the Kosas Blush is Life in Bliss. I'm currently working on seeing how much I can pan in this blush this year, and I've really enjoyed having the Kosas blush. You can barely see that. I think this is so beautiful though. This, I actually feel like is really similar to the Cheek to Cheek, but this just has a little bit more of a glow to it, which I definitely prefer more of a glow. So that leads me to believe I can likely declutter the lightest Cheek to Cheek in the shade 10. I think I'm okay with doing that, but obviously keeping the Blushes Life. This is the shade Bliss. Then I have Kiss of Pink from Bare Minerals. There is Kiss of Pink, and that almost has a little bit more of that like browniness to it. I really like the Bare Minerals bronzers, so I'm definitely going to be keeping Kiss of Pink from Bare Minerals. I do want to swatch the What's Up Beauty, the shade 220. This is Serene Sienna. There's Serene Sienna. Okay, that's pretty. Again, these are really light. Definitely still obviously reminds me a bit of, quite a bit actually, of the Kosas, but this is just maybe has a little bit more pigment to it. I actually feel like this one is really pretty, and I would like to keep at least one of the What's Up Beauty Cheek Teries, so I think I'm going to keep shade 20, which again is Serene Sienna. All right, some more pink ones that I have. I have the Makeup by Mario blush in Desert Rose. This is one of my favorite blushes in my entire collection. So this one is definitely going to stay. And this one, again, is almost more of like that brownie sort of nude. Yeah, I really, really like that one. I also have, actually, let me see what the Gucci, I'm not gonna declutter this one either, but I feel like these two might be similar. I have the Gucci blush in the shade Rosy Beige. There's Rosy Beige. Okay, Rosy Beige is actually more cool toned than a lot of the other ones that I've swatched. I really love the Gucci blush as well. So those two, Makeup by Mario and Gucci, are both staying. I also have the Ofra Chicklet blush duo. This is the one that was in collaboration with Samantha March. This is one that has, again, kind of three blush options. So with this one, we can either do a matte blush, the more shimmery blush, or you can mix them together. And I had pulled out Chicklet earlier this year, just trying to see if I still enjoyed this blush. And I really, really did. I'm looking again and I'm like, okay, the matte pink side of this, you guys, I'm going so back and forth on this one from Kaleidos. I really think I can declutter this one. You literally can, it's literally the color of my skin. This is more of a powder. And I'm like, this is a little bit darker, yes, but it still has that like light pink feel to it. So I'm gonna declutter this one from Kaleidos officially. And then I am going to be keeping my Chicklet blush from Ofra in collaboration with Samantha March. I feel like we can do these two next. I'm definitely going to be keeping both of these. These are like pretty unique shades to my collection. Actually, I don't know if the YSL one is that unique, but this is in the shade Nude Lavalier. I think to my singles, this is pretty unique. I'm like, I don't really have any single blushes that are quite like that. It's very glowy again, but I really like a glowy blush. And then I have the Very Valentino Eye to Cheek, and this is in the shade 3, which is like something Roma, I believe. And this one, I don't have anything like this in my blush collection. It's this really fun kind of lavender, cool toned lavender blush shade. I'm definitely keeping this as well. I love my little like luxury treasures, but I wanted to swatch those too, because I definitely don't think I have anything similar to those in my collection to kind of swatch against. I might quickly move into my bright pink blushes and just knock those out here really quick, because I'm feeling like I don't know how to sort the rest of my blushes. So I do have 3 of this like kind of just bright pink blush type of shade. I'm gonna swatch the Kosas first, because this is the one I'm definitely most likely to keep. And the Kosas one is in the shade Butterflies. There's Butterflies swatched. Really, really beautiful kind of baby bubblegum pink sort of blush shade. Has a beautiful glow to it. The other 2 blushes, I believe, are both mattes. This one is from Flower Nose. It's in the Midsummer Fairy Tales collection. It's in the shade Dreaming Butterfly. Did I say this was a butterfly shade? Yeah, butterflies. Interesting. So there's that one swatched. Again, that like bright pink, kind of Barbie pink feel. This one is pretty powdery to the touch, but very creamy. It's just really pigmented, and you can go pretty overboard kind of quickly on the hand. So this blush makes me nervous. I also have this one from Kaleidos, and I don't know the name of the Kaleidos one. So the Kaleidos one is the lightest of all of them. Definitely has more of like a pastel feel to it. I definitely do not need all 3 of these. I don't reach for a bright hot pink blush very frequently. I honestly feel like I can just keep Kosas Butterflies and I will be just fine. Again, I don't love a matte anything really anymore. So I'm gonna declutter both the Flower Nose and the Kaleidos, which are these 2 up here. Sorry you guys, I totally forgot about Persona Bubble, which is also a bright pink like this. Let me swatch Persona Bubble. Ooh, is Bubble and Butterflies, are those like the exact same? There's Bubble, there's Butterflies. Okay, I'm gonna swatch Butterflies above Bubble. They're very close, that's for sure. Very, very close. Oh, I feel like I shouldn't justify keeping both of those. But which do I keep? I feel like maybe I'll keep the Kosas one just because it has a little bit more of a glow to it and has that baked formula. Oh, it's gonna be so sad to declutter Persona Bubble, but I think I really never reach for a blush shade like this. It's very, very rare. I don't need to keep both. Those look like pretty much identical dupes. Okay, I'm gonna keep the Kosas in the shade Butterfly, and then I'm going to declutter Persona Bubble. Okay, I have a few more like pretty glowy, lighter pink blushes here. Maybe that I will do next. Can you tell I'm struggling with like sorting these? All right, let's see. From Rare Beauty, I have the shade Cheer, which looks like this. There's Cheer swatched. This is a very, very, very metallic-y, glowy blush, but I love Cheer, especially like layered on top of another blush. Again, I like a glowier cheek, so this is something that I really enjoy. I'm definitely going to be keeping Cheer. I want to swatch that next to the shade Truth from Nabla. I'm just curious. I don't necessarily think they're the same. I also love Truth from Nabla. This has been like a favorite blush for a very long time. There's Truth, and Truth is definitely darker than Cheer, which makes me happy because then I'm like, okay, I feel like I can justify keeping both of them. But both of them kind of have that similar vibe in that they are both very, very glowy blushes. All right, then I have from RMS Beauty, I have the shade French Rosé. And this blush is called the Redimension Hydra Blush. This is actually something I either decluttered and recluttered or almost decluttered and then put in a chopping block and realized how pretty I think that is. I think when I was thinking about decluttering this, I wasn't as into a glowy cheek, and now I'm just so into a glowy cheek that I'm like, give me all the glow. That is definitely different than those two. Again, still has that heavy kind of glow and shine to it, but it's definitely a lot more pink than these other two. I'm absolutely keeping that. And then recently I picked up one of the evocative blushes from Singe Beauty. This one isn't going to be quite as glowy, but this has a really beautiful satin glowy shine to it too. And the shade I have in the Singe Beauty blush is Riveting Rhubarb. There's Riveting Rhubarb swatched right there. Oh, I feel like the Cheer blush from Rare Beauty would like layer so beautifully on Riveting Rhubarb, or honestly any of these. I really like this blush from Singe Beauty. I would definitely be interested in picking up more shades. I am going to be keeping Riveting Rhubarb. And then from Hourglass, I have the shade Sublime Flush. I really enjoy the Hourglass formula. There's Sublime Flush. It's a little bit lighter in tone than Riveting Rhubarb and kind of just gives that very light kind of satin glow. Again, not quite as heavy, but still does have just the most beautiful finish to it. I'm definitely keeping Sublime Flush. Okay, I missed an opportunity to swatch my MAC Extra Dimension and Fairly Precious with all those other glowy blushes, but I'm gonna swatch this really quick. My arm is like dyed pink. There is Fairly Precious. As you can tell, it kind of gives that kind of highlightery vibe as well. I actually really, really love Fairly Precious as a blush topper as well. So Fairly Precious is staying. Just to give a quick update as we head into the final stretch, I have currently kept 28 blushes, decluttered 10. I don't know what's gonna happen in this final stretch here. And I also like don't really know where we're at in terms of blush shades. I think I have 2 more blush shades that are like more peachy coral. I have my Kosas Papaya Duo. I absolutely love and adore this. It's so old, but I love it so much and I reach for it quite frequently every summer. So first we have the more like orangey side. Oops, sorry, I had nothing. That was not the right hand. We have the more orangey side, which gives this really beautiful coral flush to the cheeks. And then we have, as you can tell, it's very powdery. And then we have the more like nudie side, which gives a really beautiful glow. You can layer these together. I really, really like this duo. I'm not getting rid of it. I'm not getting rid of it. And then I have Persona Georgia. I probably could have swatched these in like my nudie section, but they're more like coral. Oh, this is almost more of like a pinky. I'm definitely going to keep Persona Georgia, especially since I decluttered Bubble. I really like the Persona blush formula. I think it gives a really beautiful satin like sheen to the cheeks. And I actually do reach for Georgia quite a bit in the summer as well. So those 2 are staying. All right, then I have my Bare Minerals Bronzer in Kiss of Copper, which I don't think I'm going to be able to part ways with because this is just like, this was like an OG staple favorite. Again, I love this one in the summer. It gives a really beautiful glow to the cheeks. I feel like if I decluttered that, I'd be decluttering just to declutter. Okay, where are we at? I'm like, I'm just gonna swatch maybe what I have left. Okay, so I have my 2 Lawless blushes. I have this shade right here, which is an Indian Summer. And this is a pretty unique shade to my collection as well. Kind of that more like berry toned finish, and I don't have a ton of berry tones. I also have Berry Juicy from Huda. This is one of the glowish blushes. I'm gonna swatch the glowish blush. There's the glowish. I feel like those two are pretty similar. I feel like I should keep the glowish because I only have 1 in this formula where I have 2 in the Lawless, but I feel like this is such a dark blush shade. I just don't necessarily see myself reaching for something that dark. For some reason, the Lawless just feels more approachable. I do really like the Lawless blush formula. I think I actually am ready to let go of the Huda Glowish blush. So I think I'll declutter that. I am gonna keep my Lawless Indian Summer blush. And then I also have the Lawless Angel Suede blush. This is what Angel Suede looks like. And I absolutely love the shade Angel Suede. It's not the best swatch. Let's try and get a better swatch. There we go. This I think is such a beautiful shade. It gives this really beautiful satin finish to the cheeks, but I love to layer Truth from Nabla over this. I think that makes such a pretty pairing. So I'm going to be keeping Angel Suede. Let me swatch out the other 2. So I have the other 2 shades in the Cheek Trees from What's Up Beauty. I have the shade 3, Relaxed Roma. There's Relaxed Roma, and then I also have 4, Gentle Genova. There's Gentle Genova. So their 3rd shade is Relaxed Roma. Ooh, that's pretty. And then I have Gentle Jeroma. Okay, Relaxed Roma is really pretty for like a mid-toned, like nudie sort of shade. I actually do really like Relaxed Roma. I'm gonna keep Relaxed Roma, but I think I can definitely let go of the shade Gentle Genova. I just feel like I have other things similar to this, maybe perhaps swatched out with some of my other like nudes. Like it kind of is reminding me of the Stars Aligned duo from Give Beauty, so I don't think I need to hang on to that. I'm like, dang, I can't speak. I'm gonna declutter that one. What is this Flower Nose one? This is in the shade Ballet Fairy, and it's from the Flower Nose collection, just like a simple pink. This one doesn't necessarily like excite me. There's that one. Yeah, just kind of like a basic pink. I feel like I definitely have this, maybe not even necessarily in my singles, but definitely in some of my face palettes, or I feel like I'd rather reach for like Hourglass Sublime Flush over this because this is a matte blush, whereas the Hourglass one is not. So I think I can let go of the Flower Nose blush. And then before I wipe my arm off, I do want to swatch the Nabla Independence blush again. This one, yeah, I do like having that. I'm curious, wait, how that swatches next to MAC Hushed Tone. Oh, those are different. Those are definitely different. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna keep both because again, I do really like a glowy blush. All right, that just brings me to my 4 remaining Kosas mini blushes. I actually think I have 1 repeat. Yes, I have 2 of the Blushes Life blushes in the shade Euphoria, which it looks like this is the one that I have already used, and then this one I have not. So I'll pass this one along to my daughter likely, but I am gonna keep Euphoria. I'll swatch it quick. There's Euphoria swatched out there, swatched right there. Just a nice light kind of nudie pink. And then I have these 2, which are both from the newest trio from the holidays. I have Spellbound and Dare. So Dare looks like that. Not nearly as scary as it is in the pan, swatched out on the arm. Again, not nearly as scary at all. And I am gonna keep all those. These 2 specifically, those shades are new to my collection, so I am gonna keep these 3. I really enjoy the Kosas blush formula, if you couldn't tell. Let me go count everything up and we'll see how we did. I'm scared. Okay, I promise I didn't plan this, you guys, but I did declutter a total of 14 blushes, and I actually have 38 blushes that I'm keeping, so I must have done the math wrong somewhere, but we're under 40 blushes, which is so exciting to be under 40 powder blushes. Yeehaw! And the other exciting news is that all of my blushes fit into my 2 containers that I have them housed in, and there's even like a little bit of room to spare, like a little bit. We don't have to fill that up though. Okay, that is gonna wrap it up for today's declutter video. Let's kick it to the outro. All right, quickly to recap how we did in today's video. I am shocked to say that we did better than I thought we were going to. So we started this video with 98 total blushes. We ended up decluttering a total of 32 blushes, keeping 66, and that means that we decluttered a total of 33% of my blush collection, which really does make me happy. I'm really happy that we hit the goal of getting to below 40 powder blushes, and this is another category of my makeup collection that I really want to be mindful about next year as I'm testing and trying new things. I'm not saying I'm not going to buy or try any new blush at all next year, but as I start to think through a potential low buy, I really want to think about the categories where like I do really have, I mean, my whole entire makeup collection, I have an excessive amount, but like highlighters and blush, I mean, we've got a lot, especially when you consider what's in my face palettes. So, well, I'm proud of what we were able to accomplish today. We've still got a long way to go. So I'd love to know in the comments below if you are letting go of any of your blushes throughout your collection before the end of the year. Let a girl know. Other than that, thank you guys so much for sticking around to watch today's video and for supporting me and my channel as you guys always do. I love you guys so much, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.